Well, good afternoon, San Marino students, families, community. Welcome back to school. I want to welcome all of our students and families back for what promises to be an unforgettable year here in San Marino. Our virtual academies opened on Wednesday, August 12th, as teachers met their students for the first time. At Valentine and Carver, most students came to school at their appointed time to receive a basket or a bag filled with books, materials, kits, and art supplies. It was so much fun watching students arrive with new backpacks, custom face masks, new shoes and clothes, and smiling eyes. Students at HMS and San Marino High School picked up Chromebooks and books, bought their yearbooks, picked up instruments, and everything else that normally happens during orientation days. Teachers were in great spirits and were excited to finally be back doing what they love to do, if only at a distance for now. So I want to talk for a moment about our school reopening task force and our COVID-19 compliance team. Throughout the summer, the task force continued to meet and, guided by the LACO Rising to the Challenge of COVID-19 Planning Framework, made numerous decisions about instruction, safety and health, social emotional wellness, and operations. The family and community engagement team surveyed parents and gathered information to assist in our decision making. On July 13th, right in the middle of summer, the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health finally released their reopening guidelines and protocols for K-12 schools, revealing health restrictions, contact tracing, social distancing, and quarantining requirements. As you probably know, on July 17th, Governor Newsom ordered the physical closing of all schools for the start of 2020-21. Then on July 24th, LADPH revised their school's reopening guidelines and required that every district form a COVID-19 compliance team. The SMUSD COVID-19 compliance team will establish and enforce all COVID-19 safety protocols and will ensure that staff and students receive education about COVID-19. A designated member serves as a liaison to the County of Los Angeles Department of Public Health in the event of an outbreak. So Dr. Stephen Choi, I'm very excited, is leading this very important team, and Nurse Bob Judge will serve as our liaison to LADPH. As I talked about in my report to the board on July 21st, distance learning in 2021 will be quite different when compared with the approach that I'm sure you're familiar with that came to us from the state during the spring of 2020. Back in the spring, the state talked about using quote-unquote optional resources to do the best that we could. And what we're going to see now in the language we're using and getting from the state is content aligned to grade level standards. Back in the spring, we talked about holding students harmless for their work because we had to shift in such a moment to distance learning. But from this point forward, the state and our district are using the language of learning continuity. From check-ins, you remember back in the spring we talked about just making sure our kids were checking in. We're using the language of daily live interaction. And I want to pause for a moment here to recognize how important our teachers have been in really coming up with plans that ensure that our teachers are checking in with every kid every day, that we're having live interaction in every period and in all content areas. So I want to thank our teachers, our counselors, our psychologists, our principals, our district staff for doing such amazing work in developing guidelines that are going to really help our students receive a rigorous education and get the live instruction that they need to be successful. So as we're looking ahead, I'm sure the question that keeps popping up in your mind, I know I hear it a lot, when will schools be considered for reopening? Well, in order for us to be able to consider reopening our schools, the daily rate of infection in LA County needs to drop below 8% for 14 days, and the current positive tests for COVID need to be at or below 100 per 100,000 residents. Well, The current rate is 8.4% of daily infections, and the overall rate of 355 per 100,000 shows that while we're making progress, we're still a ways off. The good news is infection, hospitalization, and death rates are dropping across the board, but we are still a ways off from even considering a reopening. What I would love to leave you with today is that on July 31st, we finally had an opportunity to recognize our graduates. We had an amazing San Marino High School graduation, and it was just spectacular to see more than 200 of our Titans come for the graduation with their friends and their family in their cars. In fact, we had a trolley that was pretty neat. Our high school team put together a wonderful drive-through commencement where every graduate got to enjoy that one last Titan moment with their family. Even though our graduates were safely wearing their masks, the glow of pride shone in their smiling eyes as they accepted their diplomas and took their graduation photos. So thank you to our wonderful class of 2020 for all that they accomplished and for having that moment together with us. And so I want to leave you with that, and I want to thank you, San Marino, for continuing to stand with us and behind us as we successfully navigate the next several months in distance learning. So with that, you have a safe weekend, and we'll see all of our students online on Monday.